Aesthetics EDU would like to welcome you to our Skin Science Dashboard, where we discuss anatomy, physiology, chemistry, and everything concerning the skin. Whether you're an aspiring esthetician or a licensed professional, this dashboard is for you. We've created this specifically so you can stay current on all of the nuances associated with our field. We have a lot in store for you this session. Grab your note-taking device and let's get started. I isolated a lot of information for you guys just so we can have, just for the sake of discussing what we're learning, because I know it's a lot. And something that you'll hear me say a lot during our lecture today is don't try to remember all of this stuff, because the book tells us specifically that there's over 206 bones, there's 630 muscles. Who's remembering all that? Is that, to be honest, that is humanly impossible. I don't even I don't even know doctors who remember all of these muscles, all of these bones. And if they do, then they are some kind of, I don't know, they're not human. They're not human, or they've probably been in this field for 50 plus years, because I could remember some things, but most of the things that I remember come from me actually working on these situations. And so you'll hear me actually talk about that a lot during our lecture today. So we're getting deeply into the body systems. All right. The first system that they talk about is the integumentary system. And so one of the main things that I want us to take away from today's lecture is, how do all of these systems trace back to the skin? Let me read out today's objective. So the objective for today is to understand how each system works and how it supports our overall health and the health of our skin, because we're skin specialists. I know you guys did not sign up to be no doctor, even though I think I'm a doctor. You guys didn't sign up to be, you guys did not sign up for extra doctor classes. You want to know how to treat the skin and how to correct certain common skin issues. So that's what we're going to be isolating today. So first things first, the first system we're going to talk about is the integumentary system. And so the integumentary system is the skin. It gets its name, integument. It gets its name from a Latin word, which is protective covering, right? So a lot of people, and Ms. Yasmin says this all the time, when she first got into aesthetics, like a lot of people, they think that aesthetics is just about how the outward appearance of the skin. But you soon find that the skin does a lot for the rest of the body. It's way deeper than aesthetics. It's the first line of defense, right? So even though everybody wants their skin to look good, everybody wants their skin to look, glowy, everybody wants their skin to be clear, everybody wants their skin to age slow, right? But all of that really is a projection of what's going on under the skin. Your skin has the capability to project whatever your body is going through. So whenever something's wrong in the body, your skin is the first place where it'll show signs. Like perfect example, because I talk about acne a lot, but there's other things that we don't really discuss. With my foot, if you were to look at my foot, you wouldn't think that my toes were broken, because you don't see bones sticking out of my feet, but you see a lot of swelling, right? And so when I first injured myself, I didn't think that, oh, my toes were broken. I was just like, oh, it's just a little bit of swelling. So the first day I didn't go to the hospital, because I'm thinking, oh, the swelling is just going to go down in a couple of days. And the pain was a little bit more than what I anticipated. So I was like, okay, you need to go to the hospital. And when they did x-rays from the outside looking in, from the outside is just swelling and bruising. But when you do a deeper dive, my toes are broken. Like,
Oh no.
my toes are
Wow.
jacked up.
If
And
we may
so
ask, Lauren, what happened?
I fell off of a dirt bike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's how that happened.
All of your toes are broken?
hmm
Oh my
All of them?
God.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Are you
Oh
But
serious?
no.
Are you
yeah.
serious?
Yeah, but I could still wiggle my toes like nothing looks broken from the outside,
Mm,
but inside of my
Wow.
foot, like the internal part of my toes are broken. The outside
yikes.
of my
Hmm.
foot is working totally fine. It's just the inside of it that's broken.
Mm,
And so the skin, along with the rest of the body, literally reflects this injury. It projects this injury. And so I say all of that to say your skin is the first line of defense. It's the first sign of injury. It's the first sign of disease. And of course, there's other signals that your body gives, but oftentimes it's projected through your skin, right? So that's, as an esthetician, I would say this is why we have to take a deeper look into anatomy, because acne isn't just applying products, popping pimples. We oftentimes have to get to the bottom of a lot of the causes of acne, inflammation, skin tags, all kinds of stuff. All right, so that's the integumentary system. The neck system, the skeletal system, this one is very interesting. So, the skeletal system is actually what gives us our shape. Imagine not having any bones under your hand. It'll kind of just look like a you guys ever have those like blow up pool toys and it's just like flat.
flimsy.
Yes. That's how our body would be if we didn't have the bones under it. The bones give us shape. The bones give us I don't want to say it gives us contour, but it kind of does. It gives us our foundation, our structure, our shape, right? And then
Uh,
I'm
I
sorry, go
want
ahead.
to say, I
hmm
want to say that the bones are very important. Like, because I know we don't see them, but we see the skin.
hmm
But like my hand, when I had the stroke, my hand now, I'm still waiting for all the function in my right hand, even though it seems like I can do everything with
hmm
my hand, but it's like my 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 it's still weak.
mm
And it's like I can't pick up everything. You know what I'm saying? I can't pick up everything. I can't do everything because of my bones. They're not strong yet.
mm
You know what I'm saying? And it's like I can't crack my knuckles like this hand because I don't know what's wrong with my my bones and my fingers. I don't know yet. But the skeletal portion of your body is very important. And
hmm
I think I took it for granted, before I had the stroke because I can just do everything.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? So now that I really couldn't, I can't do, I'm slowly getting it back. It's like, um, like it's taking longer than I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? You want it to
Mhm.
be, but you can't rush it.
hmm And to add to that, to take a deeper look into what's going on, especially after a stroke, your bones, your bones, think about almost like a car, right? Under a car, you have all of these different metal pieces that support your tires and that support the framework. Well, it is, in fact, the framework of the car that supports everything else that's laying on top of it. On top of the framework of a car, you have the cushion of the seats, right? Then on top of the rest of the body of the car, then you have this electrical work inside of the car that causes the car to function. And that's exactly how our body is set up. Your skeletal system is the framework of your body. And then on top of that, you have the muscles. On top of that, you have your nerves that tell your muscles how to move and how to feel and how to go on about carrying out its functions. So we'll definitely take a deeper look into that. But before we move on to the muscles and the nerves, there's a couple of things I want to isolate in the skeletal system just so you guys can have it in your mind while you're reading the different pages about all of the different bones. Don't try to remember all of these different bones like I was telling you guys because it's a lot. It's way too many. And of course we need them, but um your skeletal system gives shape to your body, but think about it from a beautifying perspective. When you go to do eyebrow waxing, you actually have to follow the structure of the bone. You got to follow the structure of, I don't remember the name of this bone. Let's just call it your brow bone. I feel like it's called zygomatic something, right? But this part of your bone right here actually is what's responsible for giving you your brow arch, right? When you apply makeup, you follow the bone structure. When you apply blush, I'm sorry. When you apply blush, you follow the cheekbone structure, right? And I think that's the one that's called zygomatic. Who knows? I don't ask me. You guys will know by the end of this chapter. Um, but in addition to that, something else that we don't pay attention to, your bones actually store minerals that's responsible for creating your white blood cells and your red blood cells. So your bones aren't just framework, but they also store things like calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, all of the things that your body actually needs to carry out its functions. All right. So the bones that I do want you guys to remember, there's 206 bones. Always remember that. Whenever you see numbers, remember those numbers, especially general numbers, like how many bones there are in the average adult skeleton. So there's 206 bones, and 22 of those bones are the bones of the human skull. Right. So these are the ones that I will say and encourage you guys to get familiar with. The bones of the skull is separated into two categories. 8 of them I would love for you guys to remember. The bones of the cranium, these I remember seeing this on every state board test that I've ever taken. So that's why I'm encouraging you guys to remember the bones of the cranium. You have these 8 bones that protect the brain. It's almost like a case. It protects the brain, and you have your occipital bone that's at the back of your head. If you were to touch the back of your head, you'll feel like this little bone protruding out right at the base of your neck. That's your occipital bone. And then you have a parietal or two parietal bones, both on each side of the crown of your head. These are probably the biggest bones of your cranium. So you have your occipital bone that's at the back of your head. You have a parietal bone on one side of your head, and then you have the other one on right on the other side. You have your frontal bone, which is making up your forehead. You then have temporal bones, and they sit right at the temples, right above your ear. So it's one on each side. Then you have your ethmoid bone and your phmoid bones. Phnoid, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. I make up most of these, most of the pronunciation for these. But you have your ethmoid bone and then your phnoid bone. And these actually make up the space in your eye socket. So all of those 8 bones protect your brain. It's almost like a case for your brain. And then the bones of the face, there's a ton of them, right? But the one that I really want you guys to remember is the mandible. This is like your chin, right? But the mandible is what the book calls the largest and strongest bone of your face. So it's pretty much like your lower level of your teeth, and it goes from, your jaw area
Mm.
all the way to the front
Oh.
of your mouth. So this is the strongest bone and the largest bone of your entire face. And this one specifically it's attached to what we call the maxilla, which is the upper jaw. So it's connected to the upper teeth, right? So when people say someone's jaw is broken, they're not necessarily talking about that mandible bone breaking. That mandible bone is so strong that if someone was to punch somebody in their mandible, their fingers would shatter opposed to that mandible breaking. So when someone refers
Mm.
to a jaw being broken, they're talking about the maxilla bone and the mandible bone pretty much disconnecting from each other. But the mandible, unless, something tragic happens, God forbid, unless something tragic happens, it's very impossible for the mandible bone to break. All right. So the next one we're going over, give me 1 second, y'all. All right, sorry about that. Um, so yeah, those are the only things that you guys should remember. The strongest bone is the mandible. The eight bones of the cranium. Try to remember those eight bones, and then remember how many bones is in the human body in general, which is 206. Other than that, I would really just encourage you guys to, as you work on clients, just, as you work, try to make those connections. Try to remember as you work. You'll see them talk about this one bone that makes up pretty much like your collarbone, and every esthetician knows this one. It's the clavicle, because when we're doing facials, 9 times out of
Resting.
10, we're working on that area. So as you're working, try to remember these bones just for the sake of it. But, I'm not going to say it's mandatory for you to memorize every bone. And it's the same thing with the muscles. All right. So the muscular system, um, the importance of the muscular system specifically is to know how that tissue is being stimulated. The muscular system, it covers and shapes the skeletal system. But imagine, like just what Miss Patrice was talking about. Imagine when a client has a stroke, or imagine if a client comes in with cerebral palsy, or they're going through a situation where their muscles aren't really functioning how it used to. There's a lot of services that we do as estheticians that involve manipulating the muscles, especially the muscles of the face, right? So I don't know if you guys seen, I'm gonna share a video with you guys, but there's a service called galvanic. I don't know if it's galvanic current, or is it galvanic current? Yes. So I can't remember whether it's galvanic current or microcurrent. I don't remember. But there is a current that pretty much stimulates the muscles in the face. So if someone had cerebral palsy, or if someone had a stroke and they get facial paralysis to the point where maybe their lip isn't functioning how it used to, or their muscles aren't functioning how they used to, we use some electrical devices to, in a sense, stimulate the nerves in the muscles to function like how they used to, or try to get them to function how they used to. So as an esthetician, we massage, we use a lot of electrical devices to stimulate the muscle tissue. All right. There's 630 630 muscles in the human body, and 30 of those are facial muscles. Don't try to remember. I don't know any of them. I don't know none of them. So I hope that makes you guys feel off of the hook, because I don't remember any of them. I will say I did start recognizing some of them when I started working at a med spa, because working at the med spa, we would do Botox. Right? So when a client was talking about getting headaches, or when a client complained about crow's feet, or rolls on their neck, or wrinkles on their neck, we would have to discuss a plan of action, what muscles we would have to inject with the Botox. So that was the only time I really started to get familiar with the muscles. But other than that, it's 630 of them. Please don't try to remember all of them. But as you go on, make those connections. However, there is a couple of things that you guys have to remember or have to be familiar with, and that is the type of muscle tissue. Well, that's one of the things that you have to remember. We'll start with this, the type of muscle tissue there is. So, the type of muscle tissue, there's three types. I usually like to say there's 2.5 types of muscle tissue. You first have skeletal tissue, which is voluntary tissue. Think about your hands, right? You can wiggle your fingers, right? By conscious thought. You know, you wiggle your fingers because you told your brain to wiggle your fingers. So you have some muscles that you can move because you tell your body to do it. And then you have smooth muscles or involuntary muscles, like your stomach, right? You don't tell your stomach to release stomach acid and digest food, it does it on its own. So you don't have to tell smooth or involuntary muscles when to function. So these are things like your lungs, your stomach, your intestines. Um, what else? There's a lot. There's a lot. But these move on their own. You don't have to tell them when to carry out their function. And then the half type is your cardiac muscles. The reason why I say this is the half or the 0.5 of the two is because it's cardiac muscles are technically smooth muscles or involuntary muscles. However, they're specific to the cardiac system or the circulatory system. Your heart is a cardiac muscle. So you don't tell your heart when to beat, right? Same thing with your capillaries, your veins. You don't tell those areas to push blood on the right side of the body and then switch it over to the left side. It just does it on its own. So just remember those three types of muscle tissue. You have skeletal tissue or skeletal voluntary muscles that you control with your conscious thought. You have your smooth muscles that you do not control with your conscious thought. And then you have cardiac muscles that are specific to the circulatory system, the heart, the blood vessels, the capillaries, etc. All right. Any questions about those? All right. And so also, before I move on to that one, let's say someone does have nerve damage and they an area that used to be able to be controlled on its own is no longer functioning under your control. Like at one point, I don't know why, but it's gone away. At one point in time, my eye like would twitch randomly. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I didn't know why my eye would just start twitching randomly. This blinking is voluntary. Your brain tells your eyes when to blink, right? But whenever I was, having that issue, that was out of my control. And it's the same thing with anything else, whether it's like Miss Patrice was talking about how her hand doesn't function the way that it used to. This is the contrary or the opposite, right? So, an area that you used to be able to control by telling it to move on its own, you're no longer, because of the nerve damage, you're no longer able to control it through conscious thought until that nerve, those neurons start to repair and heal themselves, right? So nerve damage will cause two things. It'll cause you to be able to not be able to control muscles that are supposed to be, voluntary, that you used to be able to control, or it'll cause muscles to start moving out of your control. And Lord knows that's probably not fun at all. All right. So the last thing under the muscular system that I want to talk about is the different three layers of a muscle. So muscles are deeper than we think, right? Muscles, they have three layers. You have the center of the muscle, or let's start from the very beginning. You have the origin of the muscle that sits closely to the skeleton, right? And then you have the center of the muscle, right? We refer to this as the belly of the muscle. This is typically stimulated when doing deep tissue massage. Estheticians don't really cross that border, but physical therapists, licensed massage therapists, these are people who can actually massage the belly or the center of a muscle to do whatever that does and all the benefits that that does. But the one that estheticians usually come in contact with the most is the insertion of a muscle. This is the one that's furthest away from the skeleton. This is the one that sits right under the skin, right? So there's different layers. The origin that sits closest to the skeleton, the belly, that's the center part of the muscle, and then the insertion, which is closest to the skin, the ones that estheticians work with the most. All right. Any questions about what I've gone over so far before we go on to the next thing?
You're good.
Okay.
And you said this is called the muscular system, right? What's
Mm-hmm.
the different? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the cardiac one was, what was the name of it? I put cardia, but I know I heard you wrong. The
Yeah, cardiac muscles.
cardiac.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that one, I know the skeleton tissue you said you can control, the
Mm-hmm.
smooth muscle you cannot control. And you said the cardiac muscle.
This is also something that you can't control, but it's specific to the circulatory system or the heart
Okay, the
function.
heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, we're going to do one more system before we break off, and then we'll continue with the rest of the systems when we get back on our last Zoom.
This the heart.
All right, so this next one, the nervous system, this one is very interesting. And I don't think that it gets enough credit for what it does. The nervous system specifically is responsible for communicating with the entire body. The nervous system, it literally goes from the brain throughout the rest of the body, telling the body what to do. Literally, it tells the body when to release certain hormones, it tells the body when to move certain muscles. It tells the body when to pump blood. It tells the body when to stop pumping blood. Like the nervous system is a very intelligent system. And I wrote a couple of things down, a couple of points that I wanted to talk about and discuss with the nervous system. Like I mentioned, the nervous system is the main communication throughout the entire body. Um, but it does a lot of different things. We are now we're talking about, like, in today's time where everybody's talking about, you know, neurodivergence, right? Or regulating their nervous system and how it correlates with their hormones, and how stress and all that good stuff bothers your nervous system and all that good stuff. But as an esthetician, what does that mean for us? So, first things first, as an esthetician, we do have the capability to communicate with the nervous system to prevent things like acne, and to also prevent things like even depression, right? Which is a very interesting subject at hand. Um Lately, a lot of people talk about endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, cortisol, all that good stuff. All of those are different hormones, but they are triggered through the nervous system. So when you massage a client, it actually relaxes them. We know that massage is relaxing, but when you massage a client, your nervous system tells a specific gland to release a hormone to change and shift the mood of that individual. And so, like I mentioned, it's very intricate, it's very intelligent. There are 3 nerves that estheticians should be very, very familiar with. Um, I would love to believe that you will see this on your state board exam. So estheticians specifically are concerned with 3 nerves, and I zoomed in so we could see it. Estheticians are primarily concerned with nerves 5, 7, and 11. All right, so this is what we call your trifacial or trigeminal nerve. It literally affects the scalp, the sinuses, and the muscles of the face. And then 7, so 5, 7. 7 is what we call your facial nerve specifically. This is the one that affects the muscles of the mouth, the muscles all in like the cheek area. So when you're massaging the face area specifically, you're stimulating the 7th cranial nerve. And then the last one is 11, also known as the accessory nerve. And this is the one that affects the neck, the back of the neck, and then the front of the neck area. So estheticians, when we're working doing facials, we're stimulating nerves 5, 7, and 11, except for when you're doing back facials and body polishes, and then you're, stimulating other nerves, other nervous systems in the body. All right. I think we have a little bit more time to talk about the circulatory system, and then I'll let you guys go to start working on section 3. And then when we come back, we'll pick up with the last couple of systems of the body. So the next system is the circulatory system. In the circulatory system, we know that your heart is a part of the circulatory system, but it also specifically is responsible for carrying blood or circulating blood throughout the entire body. There's 2 types of circulation that takes place in the circulatory system. You have what they call pulmonary circulation or pulmonary circulation that carries blood from the heart to the lungs to be oxygenated. So this is where the blood gets filtered. It's carried from the heart to the lungs to get oxygen. And then the second form of circulation is systemic circulation. So after it gets filtered through the lungs, then is carried throughout the rest of the body. All of this oxygenated blood is carried out through the rest of the body. And then now your body receives that fresh oxygenated blood. And then it keeps on filtering, right? All of the blood that's no longer oxygenated, it just keeps on running through that process, right? Blood circulation, we know blood circulation helps keep the skin glowing. It helps hair growth, nail growth, all of that good stuff. Let me go down to page 31. Now, there's a couple of facts about blood that I do want to point out just for the memory, or just for a couple of things to remember. One fun fact about your blood. So there's approximately 8 to 10 pints of blood in the human body. Always remember that there's 8 to 10 pints of blood in the human body. You may see that on a test. And then also blood circulation actually helps maintain the body's thermoregulation. So the body's internal thermostat is set for 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And your blood is actually what keeps that circulation or what keeps that temperature going. Your blood, as we know, your blood is made out of red blood cells primarily, white blood cells that helps fight off diseases and infections. And then there's two other components that actually play a big part. You have the platelets that help with blood clotting to stop, excessive bleeding. And then you have the plasma. And your blood plasma, I don't know if you've ever heard of the vampire facial or PRP, but your blood plasma is actually the fluid that's separated from your red blood cells or the platelets. It's like a liquid gold-like fluid. And this actually carries proteins, sugars, and minerals that actually help aid in cell reproduction. So a lot of estheticians use this for facials, microneedling, hair growth, all that good stuff. So we'll stop there. I know that was a lot of information, but I recorded it. This concludes part 1 of our anatomy and physiology lecture. Anatomy and physiology is a lot, and we do not want to overstimulate you all, so we recorded it into 2 segments, probably a little bit more. We probably did 3 segments, actually. But if this was helpful, if you found this educational, stay tuned. Part 2 is following right behind this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. We love hearing feedback from you all. Stay tuned for more educational information. Stay blessed. We'll see you guys next time.